I wonder if this title did get your attention. Now, I don't want to disrespect anybody. If you love Freddy, perfect. I am a fan of Freddy too. But I have to wonder, is on the Mount Rushmore of slashers, is Freddy Krueger the weakest of them all? Let me explain. So we know Freddy, during the 80s and some part of the early 90s, he was everywhere. He was everyone's favorite while Jason was taking a lake bath and Michael Myers was asleep somewhere. He was the guy. He was the man. But is his greatest strength his greatest weakness as well? So let's take a look at this. Freddy Krueger can get you where you're the most vulnerable, in your dreams while you're asleep. That's his one advantage. And in that dream world, it is his rules, as he says.
It's my dream, and I do what I want.
Might be your dream, but it's my rules.
But it is your dream. He is more powerful than anything when it comes to that. But if you look at Michael and Jason, they're in the real world. You don't have to sleep just for them to get you. You could be awake, you could be driving a car, you could be minding your own business. So let's strike that off for Freddy. Freddy can also be defeated in another way. What if you don't dream at all or try not to fall asleep? It is referred that the drug Hypnosil is being used to prevent people from dreaming. Various movies have shown Hypnosil being used to prevent this. Also in Dream Warriors, Kristen uses coffee, soda, and loud music and keep her mind and body active in order to prevent dreaming herself. And also in the same movie, a patient went as far as cutting off their own eyelids to stay asleep. Little extreme, but one of the advantages that Freddy does have is that he can manipulate the environment around him. So he can turn your favorite area into the most slimy, disgusting boiler room, or something that could be, serene and calm. He can manipulate that to be a terrifying nightmare for you. And also, while you're in that nightmare, you are probably at a half of your strength, maybe even a quarter, as we could tell, as we found out with Rick. I don't know if that was a budget issue, but let's say for this video, it wasn't. But there are people who actually have used that environment, the most foul and putrid areas, to their advantage. You can actually take a rock, you could take a pipe off a wall and use it to hurt Freddy for a little bit. But you could also do that with Michael and Jason. I understand it, but we're talking about in the dream world. When it comes to the outside world, it's a bit different. Also, Michael and Jason have survived multiple encounters with a large group of people. It seems like in the dream world, Freddy can handle that to an extent, but everybody has their own dream power, as we found out in part 3. They all have their own strength, but when it comes to the real world and the king of slashers, Michael Myers, and Jason Voorhees, it doesn't matter. They just keep going. It seems like Freddy's weakness is also in the numbers of people he brings into the dream world. Doesn't count for the real world. But Freddy has ultimately one of the biggest weaknesses, and how simple it is to defeat Freddy is laughable. But let's talk about that for a moment. When it comes to Michael and Jason, you really have to be on your guard and have a real big arsenal because they just keep coming back. Freddy comes back, but there's a point I'm trying to make here. That point is that if you turn your back on Freddy, if you stop believing in him, if you stop fearing him, he will disappear. For a little bit, but ultimately, that's his biggest weakness, not believing in him. You have to believe in Michael. You have to believe in Jason because they are physically real when it comes to the outside world. Ultimately, Jason wants to be left alone. He doesn't want to go anywhere besides the campsite, and Michael wants to be left alone, preferably in his house. But Freddy purposely goes out and looks for victims. And for me, I think when someone does something like that, they show off their weaknesses way too early. Really quick, let's look at the ways that Michael and Jason were defeated. Shot, drowned in a lake again. Actually, not drowned in a lake again. They were actually Jason was just actually put in a lake and just stayed there dormant. And that's probably what Jason really does, is that if nothing goes on, he just goes to sleep and becomes dormant. Michael was, really shot up and probably hibernated for a little bit in part 5 and came back. He just rejuvenated his energy. But Freddy, on the other hand, he was defeated in some weird ways. You turn your back on him, in part 1. In part 2, love was involved. In part 3, he really had to be exorcised and had to be buried in consecrated ground. Part 4, he looked in a mirror. Part 5, an unborn child took all the power back, and the souls that he, engulfed left him. Part 6, he was brought out into the real world, which is another disadvantage of Freddy, is that if you bring him out into the real world, he's just as human as you and I. But his daughter blew him up with a stick of dynamite. And let's go into New Nightmare, where he was roasted. The entity, the most powerful part of Freddy, or the most powerful imagining of Freddy, was destroyed by being put into a fire oven. And then in Freddy vs. Jason, Jason ultimately killed Freddy. Well, we thought he did. And we all knew that was going to happen because Freddy and Jason, survived at the end. He gave us a little wink, but to Jason's credit, they did make him a lot more lumbery and stiff. And ultimately, Freddy, throughout every movie, shows us his weaknesses, his vast number of weaknesses. Group of people with dream powers, pulling him into our reality, ignoring him. His mother is another weakness, and those stupid dream demons really are his biggest weakness. Now, to be fair, if you were to leave Freddy in that dream world, he is ultimately the greatest and most fierce slasher of all time. He is absolute. He is powerful. And as Freddy says himself,
I am eternal.
He can't be outrun. He knows your fears. He knows your strengths. He knows your weaknesses. That is a moot point when it comes to what he can actually do to you in the outside world. Michael and Jason, if they were to be pulled into Freddy's world, into a dream world, they can ultimately still survive and possibly outlast Freddy and do some damage to him. Even though Freddy may not feel it, but we saw that in Freddy vs. Jason. Let me just say this. You take Crystal Lake out of Friday the 13th, Jason is still Jason. You take Haddonfield out of Halloween, Michael is still Michael. He is still the boogeyman. I mean, you take Texas out of Leatherface, he is still part of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. He is still Leatherface. However, you take Freddy out of his dream world, out of our dream world, he's just another person outside of it. He's just another serial killer. But I'm not saying all this stuff to bring fans down. Like I said, I am a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. I am a fan of Robert Englund. I am a fan of Freddy Krueger. I am a fan of these movies. And with the news that a deal is being done with the Wes Craven estate, I want this new movie to be something different. I want to go back to Freddy of old. I want Freddy to be as nightmarish as possible, like he was in the first one and in the second one. Jackie Earle Haley did a good job, but it was in the wrong movie, of course. I want something to get me excited to continue with a franchise all over again. It needs to be done right. It doesn't need to be comical. We don't need to go back to MTV Freddy. We don't need those one-quip lines. We need the blood. We need the kills. We need horrific dreams. I want a better Freddy Krueger. Will we get it? Time will tell. But anyway, let me know what you think. Is Freddy Krueger a weak slasher or one of the strongest slashers in your opinion? Let me know. Let's have a polite discussion about it. Again, I am not knocking Freddy Krueger. I want just to point out that he is actually, when it comes to it, kind of weak compared to the other slashers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a good day. Take care.